Israel has officially crossed into Lebanon, marking a significant escalation in the conflict with Hezbollah. The Israeli Defense Forces have initiated targeted ground raids aimed at uprooting Hezbollah's presence along the border. This is not just a tactical maneuver, it's a bold statement of intent. As the IDF strikes targets close to the Lebanese border, Hezbollah is retaliating with its own strikes, intensifying the already volatile situation. The stakes are higher than ever, as this incursion signals a major shift in the ongoing hostilities. With Iran backing Hezbollah, the implications of this conflict could ripple far beyond the region. Political analysts must brace for a turbulent escalation that could redefine the balance of power in the Middle East. The clock is ticking, and the world is watching. Israel has initiated a targeted ground incursion into Lebanon, marking a significant escalation in its ongoing conflict with Hezbollah. This operation aims to dismantle militant sites near the border, reflecting Israel's strategic shift in response to persistent attacks from these Iran-backed forces. For months, Hezbollah has been launching strikes in solidarity with Hamas, another Iranian proxy, complicating the already volatile regional dynamics. This move not only underscores Israel's intent to neutralize immediate threats but also signals a broader confrontation with Iranian influence in the region. As the situation unfolds, the implications for regional stability and international relations will be profound, warranting close scrutiny from analysts worldwide. In recent weeks, Israel has intensified its military operations against Hezbollah, shifting focus from Gaza to the northern front. This strategic pivot comes as the IDF reallocates resources, indicating a significant escalation in the region. Hezbollah's response has been swift, launching rockets and artillery strikes along the Israeli border, prompting sirens to wail in central Israel. Most projectiles have been intercepted, showcasing the effectiveness of Israel's defense systems, yet the threat remains palpable. Meanwhile, the humanitarian crisis in Lebanon deepens, with thousands fleeing northward and seeking refuge in Syria. This dynamic not only heightens regional tensions but also raises critical questions about the long-term implications for both Israeli security and Lebanese stability. The interplay of military actions and civilian displacement underscores a complex narrative that demands careful analysis. The current operation in Lebanon raises critical questions about troop involvement and duration, which remain shrouded in uncertainty. Historically, Israel has engaged in limited operations in this region, only to find itself mired in protracted conflicts. The stakes are high, as both the UK and Arab states urge restraint, fearing that Israel's actions could spiral into a broader confrontation, potentially drawing Iran into direct involvement. This scenario not only complicates regional dynamics but also poses significant risks to international stability. The call for a diplomatic resolution is more pressing than ever, as the specter of escalation looms large over an already volatile landscape. Understanding these complexities is essential for any political analyst navigating the intricacies of Middle Eastern geopolitics today. It's intriguing to observe how oil has remained relatively unresponsive to the recent stimulus measures in China, especially when compared to other asset classes and commodities that have reacted more vigorously. This could signal a potential shift, particularly if further economic measures are introduced. Moreover, we cannot overlook the possibility of escalating tensions in the Middle East. While historical patterns suggest that such conflicts often do not significantly disrupt oil supply, the current landscape is unpredictable. The head of Gunvor, a prominent oil trader, expresses confidence that crude supply will remain stable despite rising tensions. This perspective invites us to consider the resilience of oil markets amidst geopolitical uncertainties. Investors should remain vigilant. The dynamics of supply and demand could shift rapidly, making it crucial to stay informed about both market trends and geopolitical developments. The current market sentiment is heavily influenced by concerns surrounding oil demand growth. As Chairman Torbjorn Tornquist pointed out, this focus on demand dynamics is critical for investors to understand. However, amidst these worries, Tornquist remains optimistic about the stability of oil supply, particularly in light of the escalating conflict in the Middle East. He asserts that the situation will not disrupt crude supply from the region. This confidence stems from a robust infrastructure and strategic reserves that can withstand geopolitical tensions. For investors, this presents an opportunity to reassess the market landscape, balancing the fears of demand stagnation with the resilience of supply chains. Understanding these nuances is essential for making informed investment decisions in the oil sector. The current sentiment in the oil market reveals a significant shift in focus. Investors seem increasingly concerned about stagnant growth in oil demand, overshadowing geopolitical tensions, particularly in the Middle East. Despite ongoing Houthi attacks on vessels in the Red Sea, which are a direct response to the conflict in Gaza, the crude market remains surprisingly resilient. Physical shipments have largely continued uninterrupted, with only minor delays as vessels reroute around Africa. This resilience suggests that while geopolitical risks are present, they are not translating into immediate supply disruptions. However, the underlying issue of demand growth looms large. If global consumption doesn't pick up, even the most stable supply chains may struggle to support prices in the long run. Investors should keep a close eye on these dynamics, as the interplay between geopolitical events and demand trends will ultimately shape the market's trajectory. This week, we witnessed a notable shift in the oil market, even as geopolitical tensions escalated with Israel's ground forces entering Lebanon. Surprisingly, Brent crude prices in London dipped by 2.6%, hovering around $71 a barrel. The underlying issue? Weak consumption, particularly from China, continues to weigh heavily on demand. Adding to the complexity, Libya is on the verge of ramping up its oil output following a breakthrough agreement between its rival governments regarding the central bank's leadership. This could further influence global supply dynamics. For investors and traders, the interplay of geopolitical events and supply chain developments is crucial. Keeping an eye on these factors will be essential as we navigate this volatile landscape. Lower prices in the oil market are signaling that OPEC Plus is likely to follow through on its plans to ramp up production come December. This expectation is crucial, especially as algorithm-driven traders have created an environment where speculators are betting against oil prices at unprecedented levels. It's a significant shift in market sentiment. As we entered this quarter, oil began on a shaky footing, with supply dynamics overshadowing geopolitical tensions. Brent crude has been hovering around $70 a barrel, reflecting this delicate balance. Investors should keep a close eye on these developments, as the interplay between production increases and speculative trading could lead to volatility. Understanding these market mechanics will be key to navigating the oil landscape in the coming months. Brent crude has shown some recovery, but the $70 level is crucial. If we breach that, we could see psychological support crumble, driven by fundamental shifts in the market. Libya's plans to ramp up oil output are adding pressure, despite ongoing tensions in the Middle East that haven't yet impacted supply. Looking at the technicals, Brent's RSI is hovering around 37, suggesting there's still room for further declines before we hit oversold territory. This indicates that traders should remain cautious. The market dynamics are shifting, and we need to be vigilant about potential price movements. Keeping an eye on these fundamentals will be key to navigating the volatility ahead. Turning to the current landscape of crude oil, it's intriguing to note that the market has shown resilience despite the escalating tensions in Lebanon. Recent rallies in oil prices, largely fueled by unexpected supply cuts from Libya, have created a sense of optimism. However, this optimism is now tempered by the news that rival factions in Libya have seemingly reconciled, paving the way for the resumption of halted production. This development could significantly impact supply dynamics, potentially leading to increased output just as the market was adjusting to tighter conditions. Investors should closely monitor these shifts, as the interplay between geopolitical events and supply fundamentals will be crucial in shaping price movements. The current sentiment reflects a cautious outlook, And as we navigate these complexities, staying informed will be key to making strategic investment decisions in the commodities space. The imminent return of Libya's oil barrels is a significant development that investors in the oil markets should closely monitor. As we anticipate this influx, it's crucial to consider the ongoing pressure on OPEC Plus to restore output levels. This dynamic creates a complex landscape, with potential implications for global supply and pricing strategies. Simultaneously, the Biden administration is grappling with the federal response to Hurricane Helene, which adds another layer of uncertainty to the market. The interplay between geopolitical events and natural disasters can drastically shift supply chains and influence investor sentiment. As we navigate these turbulent waters, understanding the balance between increased production from Libya and OPEC+'s strategic decisions will be key. The next few months could reveal critical insights into market stability and pricing trends, making it essential for investors to stay informed and agile. As we approach the Jewish high holidays, the situation in Lebanon weighs heavily on my mind. I expect President Biden to address these developments during his call with rabbis this afternoon. This isn't just a matter of international relations, it's a delicate balancing act for Biden, especially with the election looming. The escalation in Lebanon poses a significant challenge not only for him but also for Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Each of them must navigate the complexities of foreign policy while addressing the concerns of their constituents. The stakes are high, and the implications of their responses could resonate far beyond this immediate crisis. It's a pivotal moment that could shape the political landscape as we head into the election season. Navigating the complexities of the current conflict requires a keen understanding of the shifting dynamics at play. Israel's recent actions, framed by Prime Minister Netanyahu as preemptive measures against potential threats from the north, signal a critical moment in regional politics. With Lebanon in turmoil and Arab states expressing their outrage, the stakes are higher than ever. The narrative being pushed by Netanyahu and his allies aims to justify these actions as necessary for national security, especially in light of the October 7th attacks. As we watch how leaders like Harris and Trump respond, their messages will reveal much about the U.S. stance in this volatile landscape. Will they support Israel's aggressive posture, or will they advocate for a more measured approach? The world is watching closely, as every statement could either escalate tensions or pave the way for dialogue. The implications of these decisions extend far beyond borders, affecting millions caught in the crossfire of this multifaceted conflict. As we approach the U.S. election, the escalating conflict in the Middle East poses a significant challenge for President Biden, who, while not seeking re-election, must navigate these turbulent waters. After months of urging Israel to exercise restraint, we now see a new front opening in Lebanon. This development is critical. Israel perceives an opportunity to confront its adversaries decisively. However, this aggressive stance risks entangling the U.S. further in a region it has repeatedly tried to disengage from. The implications are profound, not just for regional stability but for U.S. foreign policy moving forward. The stakes are high, and the clock is ticking. We're now several hours into Israel's incursion into Lebanon, marking a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict. Israel has launched what it describes as a targeted ground raid, specifically aiming at Hezbollah positions near the border. This operation is a direct response to the rocket strikes initiated by Hezbollah in support of Hamas, both of which are backed by Iran. The stakes are high, as Israel seeks to dismantle Hezbollah's capabilities to prevent further attacks. The situation remains fluid, and the implications of this military action could reshape the dynamics in the region. As tensions rise, the world watches closely, aware that each move could lead to broader consequences. In recent weeks, Israel has intensified its military operations against Hezbollah, shifting focus from Gaza to the northern front. This strategic redeployment comes as tensions escalate, with Hezbollah responding aggressively through rocket and artillery fire along the Israeli border. The Israel Defense Forces report that sirens have sounded in central Israel, indicating projectile launches from Lebanon, most of which have been intercepted by advanced defense systems. However, the scale of troop involvement in this operation remains unclear, raising questions about the duration and potential implications of this conflict. Military strategists must closely analyze these developments, as the situation evolves rapidly and could reshape regional dynamics significantly. Israel's recent military actions in Lebanon have been described as limited, but history shows us that such operations can quickly escalate. The concern is palpable among the US, UK, and Arab states, all urging restraint. The fear is that Israel could find itself entangled in a prolonged conflict, potentially drawing in Iran directly. This situation is precarious. A miscalculation could lead to wider regional instability. The diplomatic path is crucial here. It's not just about military might, it's about finding a resolution that prevents further escalation and protects the fragile peace in the region. The stakes are high, and the world is watching closely. Turkey's foreign ministry has issued a stark warning to Israel, demanding an immediate withdrawal of its troops from Lebanon. This incursion, which they label an illegal invasion attempt, is not just a violation of sovereignty, it's a reckless move that could ignite a new wave of migration. We're already witnessing the flow of refugees from Lebanon to Syria, and this escalation only heightens the crisis. The situation in Gaza is dire enough without adding more fuel to the fire. Israel's actions against Hezbollah are not just military maneuvers, they threaten regional stability and the lives of countless civilians. It's time for the international community to take a stand and hold accountable those who prioritize aggression over peace. Turkey is currently facing an unprecedented challenge, hosting the world's largest refugee population, including millions of Syrians. Now, with the arrival of refugees from Lebanon, the situation is becoming even more complex. Over 50,000 Lebanese nationals and Syrians who sought refuge in Lebanon since the civil war have crossed into Syria, seeking safety and stability. Turkey, already stretched thin, is concerned that more individuals may attempt to reach its borders through Syria. Each of these stories represents a life disrupted, a family torn apart by conflict. As we witness this humanitarian crisis unfold, it's crucial to remember the resilience of these individuals and the urgent need for compassion and support. The world must come together to address these challenges, ensuring that those fleeing violence and instability find the refuge they desperately seek. In many regions, schools have become makeshift shelters, providing refuge for those fleeing conflict. Yet, amidst this uncertainty, some are choosing a perilous journey by sea to Cyprus and Turkey. Advertisements have begun to surface, promoting boat rentals for this dangerous crossing, though the source of these ads remains a mystery. As we watch this unfold, it's difficult to predict whether we are on the brink of a crisis reminiscent of the Syrian civil war, which dramatically reshaped European politics. The stakes are high, and the human cost is immeasurable. Each decision made in desperation carries profound implications, not just for those directly involved, but for the world at large. The echoes of past migrations remind us that we must remain vigilant and compassionate as we navigate these turbulent waters. In a region already fraught with tension, the situation is becoming increasingly complex. Egypt, grappling with its own challenges, has shown a reluctance to welcome large numbers of refugees fleeing the conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. It's a heartbreaking dilemma, people seeking safety yet finding borders closed. Meanwhile, the Israeli military has issued urgent warnings to residents in over 20 villages in southern Lebanon, advising them to evacuate north immediately. The fear of escalating violence looms large, and the message is clear: heading south towards Israel is not an option. This delicate equation of safety, sovereignty, and humanitarian need is a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict. Each decision made in this volatile landscape carries profound implications for countless lives. The struggle for peace and stability continues, and we must remain aware of the stories unfolding in this troubled region. The situation in southern Lebanon is increasingly complex as Israeli troops engage Hezbollah militants. Despite international calls for restraint from the US, UK, and Arab nations, Israel has made it clear that its ground operations are intended to be limited. This suggests a tactical approach, avoiding deep incursions or prolonged occupation. However, the reality on the ground remains murky, with Hezbollah continuing to launch projectiles into Israeli territory. The delicate balance of power is shifting, and the stakes are high as both sides navigate this volatile landscape. Understanding the implications of these actions is crucial, as the region holds its breath, watching for the next move in this ongoing conflict. As we witness the ongoing turmoil in Lebanon, Prime Minister Najib Mikati's urgent appeal for over $400 million in aid underscores the dire situation faced by 1 million displaced individuals. The recent escalation of violence, particularly the shelling from Hezbollah into northern Israel, has exacerbated an already critical humanitarian crisis. Many families have been uprooted in just the past few weeks, seeking refuge amidst a backdrop of fear and uncertainty. Mikati's government, grappling with the remnants of a financial crisis that began in 2019, finds itself with limited resources to address the needs of its people. The economic collapse has left the state struggling to provide basic services, let alone the support required for those fleeing conflict. This appeal is not just a call for funds. It is a plea for compassion and solidarity in a region that has endured too much suffering. As analysts, we must recognize the profound implications of this crisis, not only for Lebanon but for the broader Middle East, where stability hangs by a thread. In the heart of Beirut, thousands are seeking refuge in schools, while others are left to brave the streets, fleeing the relentless assaults from Israel in the southern suburbs. Families are torn apart, children are scared, and the sound of explosions echoes through the city. This morning, as Israel claims to conduct limited raids, a far-right minister in Netanyahu's cabinet is pushing for a broader invasion, insisting they must crush Hezbollah. The stakes are rising, and the cries for peace grow louder amidst the chaos. Each day, the struggle intensifies, and the human cost becomes more unbearable. We cannot turn a blind eye to the suffering unfolding before us. It is a tragedy that demands our attention and action. The decisions we've made in recent days are not just important, they are crucial for our security and our future. I stand firm in my belief that a hard line against Iran and its proxies, Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon, is essential. We cannot afford to show weakness. The threats from these groups are real and persistent. I've made it clear, if a permanent truce is reached with Hezbollah, I will not hesitate to reconsider my position in Netanyahu's coalition. We must prioritize our national interests and ensure that our actions reflect our commitment to safety and stability. The time for decisive action is now. The situation in southern Lebanon is escalating rapidly, as indicated by the recent statements from the Israeli military. Avichai Adri, the army's Arab language spokesman, has highlighted what he describes as heavy fighting in the region. This is significant, as it suggests a direct confrontation following Israel's incursion aimed at targeting Hezbollah positions along the border. The implications of this development are profound, not only for the immediate security dynamics but also for the broader geopolitical landscape. Analysts must consider how this escalation could affect regional stability and the potential for further military engagements. The situation remains fluid, and the international community is closely monitoring these developments, as they could reshape the strategic calculations of all parties involved. In Lebanon, Hezbollah has cleverly positioned itself as a lifeline amidst the chaos of economic collapse. By providing essential social services, they've woven themselves into the fabric of daily life for many, effectively securing a loyal base of support. This isn't just charity. It's a strategic move to maintain influence in a country where the state has largely failed its citizens. Their alliance with the Amal movement, led by Nabi Berri, consolidates their power, representing the majority of the Shiite community. This partnership isn't just about politics, it's about survival in a nation grappling with crises. While many Lebanese struggle to make ends meet, Hezbollah's dual role as a provider and a political force raises critical questions about dependency and the future of governance in Lebanon. Are we witnessing a model of resilience or a troubling entrenchment of power? Hezbollah stands at the epicenter of the Mideast turmoil, a powerful player in a conflict that has erupted with ferocity since Hamas declared war on Israel on October 7. As the rockets fly and the ground shakes, Hezbollah has not remained silent. They've unleashed a barrage of missiles, mortars, and explosive drones into northern Israel, a show of solidarity with their Palestinian allies. Each day, the tension escalates, with Israel retaliating fiercely, igniting a cycle of violence that seems unending. This isn't just a regional skirmish, it's a complex web of alliances and enmities, where Hezbollah's actions could reshape the entire landscape of the Middle East. The stakes are high, and the world watches as this dramatic saga unfolds. On September 27, a seismic shift echoed through the Middle East as Israeli forces executed a targeted airstrike in Beirut, assassinating Hezbollah's longtime leader, Hassan Nasrallah. This act reverberates far beyond the borders of Lebanon. Born from the ashes of Israel's occupation in 1982, Hezbollah emerged as a formidable force, fueled by the fervor of the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran. With unwavering support from Iran's elite Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Hezbollah has shaped the political landscape of Lebanon and the region. Nasrallah's death sends shockwaves through Shiite communities, igniting fears of retaliation and escalating tensions. The balance of power is shifting, and the world watches as this dramatic chapter unfolds, questioning what comes next in this volatile saga of conflict and resilience. Lebanon's complex landscape is shaped by its diverse population, with Shiite and Sunni Muslims each making up about 30%. This division plays a significant role in the region's dynamics, particularly with groups like Hezbollah. Unlike a conventional military, Hezbollah operates independently, allowing it to engage in attacks without the same repercussions a state would face. This has led to ongoing tensions, including the notable conflict with Israel in 2006. The situation is further complicated by Hezbollah's designation as a terrorist organization by the U.S., a label that stems from its involvement in several high-profile attacks on American targets during the 1980s. Understanding these layers is crucial as we navigate the current geopolitical landscape. Hezbollah, often hailed as a resistance movement, is paradoxically a double-edged sword for Lebanon. While it emerged in 1982 as a response to Israeli occupation, its existence now complicates Lebanon's already fragile political landscape. Critics argue that Hezbollah's entrenchment in regional conflicts not only diverts attention from pressing domestic issues but also exacerbates the country's economic woes. The group's military prowess and political clout have effectively stymied any real progress towards stability, leaving Lebanon caught in a web of sectarian strife and external pressures. This raises a crucial question: can Lebanon ever reclaim its sovereignty and chart a path toward recovery while Hezbollah remains a dominant force? The answer, it seems, is as elusive as peace itself. Hezbollah operates as a powerful proxy for Iran's elite Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, shaping the landscape of Middle Eastern politics. Their influence is undeniable, especially considering the repeated clashes with Israel, culminating in the devastating 2006 war. The U.S. has labeled Hezbollah a terrorist organization, a designation stemming from their involvement in major attacks on American targets back in the 1980s. Fast forward to today, and tensions are escalating again. Just hours before Israel launched its targeted raids, Lebanese army soldiers were repositioning along the southern border. This isn't just a regional conflict, it's a complex web of alliances and hostilities that could ignite at any moment. The stakes are high, and the implications stretch far beyond the borders of Lebanon and Israel. The National Army is in a dire state, ill-equipped and dependent on U.S. aid just to keep its operations running. Remember 2020? Lebanon was in the grips of a catastrophic economic crisis, and our soldiers were literally going hungry. The army commander had to plead for help, and it was the U.S. and Qatar that stepped in with food parcels and water. This isn't just a logistical failure, it's a national disgrace. Hezbollah uses this vulnerability as a justification for its own arsenal, claiming the army can't defend Lebanon against foreign threats. But isn't it alarming that our own military can't stand on its own? We're left questioning who truly protects our sovereignty when our army relies on foreign handouts. This isn't just about food, it's about the very essence of our national security. As Israel conducts targeted ground raids in Lebanon, the situation is escalating rapidly. The Israel Defense Forces are striking at specific targets in villages near the border, citing an immediate threat to northern Israeli communities. This operation marks a significant intensification in the ongoing conflict with Hezbollah, an Iran-backed militant group. Meanwhile, Israel is already engaged in a fierce battle against Hamas in Gaza, another proxy of Iran. The complexities of these conflicts are deeply intertwined, raising concerns about regional stability and civilian safety. As tensions rise, the implications for both Israeli and Lebanese civilians become increasingly dire. The world watches closely, aware that each decision made in this volatile landscape could have far-reaching consequences. Hezbollah has escalated tensions by firing rockets and artillery at Israeli soldiers in Metchala, prompting the IDF to intercept 2 projectiles from Lebanon. This is a significant development in an already volatile situation. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is in urgent talks with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, as the U.S. pushes for a ceasefire to prevent further escalation. The United Arab Emirates has voiced deep concern over Israel's ground operations in Lebanon, warning of dire repercussions for the entire region. The stakes are incredibly high, and the world is watching closely as this conflict unfolds. Gold is slightly higher today as European traders begin their day, reflecting a modest intraday gain of around 0.4%. The geopolitical landscape, particularly Israel's incursion into southern Lebanon, is certainly weighing on investors' minds. However, unless we see a significant escalation involving Iran, it's unlikely that gold will gain substantial traction from these developments. Investors should also keep a close watch on Federal Reserve policy and the trajectory of the Treasury market, as these factors continue to influence market sentiment. The traditional safe haven appeal of gold may be tested, but without clear signals of heightened conflict, its upward movement could remain limited. The interplay of these elements will be crucial in determining gold's performance in the near term. As we analyze the shifting dynamics in the region, it's crucial to recognize the profound impact of Israel's evolving self-confidence. This transformation, while empowering, has led some to adopt positions that may be overly optimistic. We must tread carefully here. The question of whether Israel has overestimated Hezbollah's strength is valid, yet it's imperative to remember that underestimating Hezbollah's capabilities could be a grave mistake. The organization retains significant resources and tactical advantages. A nuanced understanding of this balance is essential for military analysts. We must remain vigilant, ensuring that our assessments are grounded in reality, not just perception. The stakes are high, and clarity in our evaluations is paramount. The ground operation ahead is not just necessary, it's a critical test of our capabilities. Our forces will face a highly trained military on their own turf, a challenge that demands our utmost precision and strategy. Reports from Lebanon's national news agency indicate heavy shelling in border towns like Kfar Kila and Odessa. This is not just a skirmish, it's a calculated engagement where every move counts. The targeting of Ras Nakura, the furthest point on the de facto border, underscores the strategic importance of controlling key positions along the Mediterranean. We must prepare for intense resistance and adapt quickly to the evolving battlefield dynamics. Every decision made in these moments will shape the outcome of this operation. The stakes are high, and we must rise to meet them. Sirens blared in Metchala and Safed, signaling a tense escalation as Hezbollah launched a rocket barrage targeting Israeli soldiers in Metchala. This is a stark reminder of the fragile situation along the border, where the Blue Line, established by the UN in 2000, remains a contentious and undefined boundary. The area, stretching from Ras Nakura to the Golan Heights, has seen its share of conflict since Israel's withdrawal from southern Lebanon. With tensions rising, the implications of these attacks could ripple far beyond the immediate region. The stakes are high, and the world is watching closely as this volatile situation unfolds. The United Arab Emirates has expressed deep concern over Israel's escalating ground operations in Lebanon. This situation is alarming, not just for those directly involved, but for the entire region. The Gulf Cooperation Council, which includes key players like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, is urgently calling for a ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel. The potential repercussions of this conflict could destabilize the already fragile balance in the Middle East. As tensions rise, the need for dialogue and de-escalation becomes more critical than ever. The world watches closely, hoping for a resolution that prioritizes peace and security for all. The situation in the Middle East is precarious. While countries like Jordan, Egypt, and the Gulf monarchies might welcome Israel's efforts against Iranian-backed groups like Hezbollah, they are deeply wary of the consequences. A direct clash between Israel and Iran could spiral into a regional war, something no one wants. The stakes are incredibly high. Iran, despite its ambitions, has compelling reasons to avoid a full-blown conflict. The economic toll, the risk of losing influence, and the potential for widespread chaos weigh heavily on their calculations. Meanwhile, the prospect of Israeli troops entering Lebanon sends shivers down the spines of regional leaders. They know that any escalation could destabilize the entire area, drawing in powers far beyond the immediate conflict. The delicate balance in the region hangs by a thread, and every move counts. Iran's strategy appears to pivot towards strengthening Hezbollah in Lebanon and maintaining its network of proxies. This shift is not just about regional influence, it's a calculated move to sustain power while minimizing troop casualties. Meanwhile, Israel faces its own pressures. The recent downgrade of its credit rating by Moody's to B1 signals economic vulnerabilities that could limit its military ambitions. A prolonged conflict could exacerbate these issues, forcing Israel to consider a shorter incursion. The stakes are high, and the implications of these decisions will resonate far beyond the battlefield, affecting the stability of the entire region. Geopolitical risks surrounding Israel have escalated to very high levels, a situation that investors should closely monitor. The government's increased borrowing to finance ongoing conflicts with Hamas and Hezbollah is a significant concern. As we look ahead, Israel's 2024 budget deficit is projected to be the widest this century, excluding the extraordinary circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic. This raises critical questions about fiscal sustainability and the potential for economic instability. Investors must consider how these dynamics could impact market confidence and regional stability. The interplay of military expenditures and economic health will be pivotal in shaping Israel's financial landscape, making it essential to stay informed and agile in this evolving scenario. And it does remain to be seen how Hezbollah will respond. Deputy Leader Naim Qassem recently declared the group is ready to fight, but what does that really mean? The uncertainty surrounding Hezbollah's command structure raises questions about their operational capabilities. With reports suggesting that the Israeli military has effectively neutralized all but one of Hezbollah's top 11 commanders, one has to wonder what's left of their strategic leadership. Are they still capable of orchestrating complex operations, or are they now a shadow of their former self? The balance of power in the region could shift dramatically based on Hezbollah's next move, and military enthusiasts like us are left pondering the implications of this evolving situation. Will they adapt and regroup, or are we witnessing the beginning of a significant decline in their influence? Israel claims to have neutralized approximately half of Hezbollah's precision-guided missiles, as well as their short and medium-range rockets. However, the situation remains murky. We still don't have a clear picture of how many Israeli troops are actively engaged or how deep into Lebanon they plan to advance, although military officials suggest they will remain close to the border. Meanwhile, Hezbollah's response on the ground is largely shrouded in uncertainty. What strategies are they employing? Are they mobilizing their forces in any significant way? The lack of detailed information leaves us questioning the dynamics of this escalating conflict. As the situation evolves, the implications for regional stability could be profound. Hezbollah's ongoing attacks on northern Israel have escalated tensions in the region. As Israeli troops conduct what they describe as targeted ground raids inside Lebanon, the situation remains volatile. Recently, the Israel Defense Forces intercepted 2 projectiles launched from Lebanon into the Upper Galilee, while another aimed at a kibbutz fell harmlessly in an open area. Hezbollah claims responsibility for targeting Shtula with artillery shells around midnight, highlighting their persistent threat. This exchange underscores the precarious balance of power and the potential for further conflict, as both sides remain entrenched in their positions. The implications of these actions could ripple far beyond the immediate area, affecting regional stability and international relations. Israel has initiated targeted ground raids in Lebanon, focusing on villages near the border that are deemed immediate threats to northern Israeli communities. The Israel Defense Forces are acting decisively, striking at locations that could potentially endanger civilians. As of now, Hezbollah has remained silent in response to these actions, leaving many to speculate on their next move. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has been in contact with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, highlighting the international concern surrounding this escalating situation. The implications of these raids could be significant, not just for Israel and Lebanon, but for regional stability as a whole. As events unfold, the world watches closely, aware that tensions in this area can have far-reaching consequences. Both sides have reached a critical consensus: dismantling attack infrastructure along the border is non-negotiable. This urgency reflects a broader reality impacting our industry. Meanwhile, oil prices in Asia are only marginally higher, a clear signal of the weak demand outlook combined with abundant supply. As energy sector professionals, we must navigate this complex landscape. The interplay of geopolitical tensions and market dynamics is shaping our strategies. We need to adapt quickly, leveraging insights to optimize our operations and respond to shifting demand. The time to act is now. Our decisions today will define the future of energy markets. Stay alert and informed. The recent escalation in the Middle East has raised critical questions about the U.S. response and Israel's military strategy. After Hamas's incursion into Israel on October 7, the Biden administration has been keen to show unwavering support for Israel, particularly as tensions rise with Hezbollah along the northern border. The concern is palpable. If Israel pushes back Hezbollah, can they simply withdraw afterward? History tells us that vacuums in power rarely remain unfilled. If Israel retreats, who steps in? Will it be another militant group, or could it lead to a broader regional conflict? The stakes are incredibly high, not just for Israel, but for the entire region. The U.S. must navigate this complex landscape carefully, balancing support for an ally with the potential consequences of destabilization. The world is watching closely, and the implications of these developments will resonate far beyond the borders of Israel. To follow on from Stuart, it's important to consider the insights shared by Douglas London, a former senior CIA officer. He emphasizes that Israel's recent limited ground operations serve a strategic purpose. By opting for a cautious approach, Prime Minister Netanyahu aims to mitigate the risk of Hezbollah raids while minimizing potential casualties among Israeli troops. This delicate balance reflects the complexities of military engagement in the region. It's a calculated move that underscores the ongoing tensions and the need for careful navigation in a landscape where every decision carries significant consequences. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for anyone interested in the unfolding events in the Middle East. The complexities of regional conflicts often echo through history. Randa Slim, a senior fellow at the Middle East Institute, highlights a striking parallel. Israel's invasion of Lebanon in 1982 began with limited objectives but escalated into a prolonged occupation that lasted until 2000. This serves as a cautionary tale for current military strategies. Today, we see the emergence of UAVs, or drones, which are not only assembled in hidden underground sites but also distributed from them. This makes targeting and neutralizing these threats with airstrikes increasingly challenging. The lessons of the past remind us that what starts as a contained operation can spiral into a far more complicated situation, with lasting implications for all involved. Understanding these dynamics is crucial as we navigate the current landscape of conflict and security. Drones are revolutionizing modern warfare, and their impact is significant. Often made from inexpensive materials like plastic or wood, these unmanned aerial vehicles are relatively easy to assemble. While they may be slow and not the most accurate, their sheer numbers can create chaos, overwhelming sophisticated air defense systems. Take the situation with Israeli troops, for instance. Despite facing intense bombardments, groups like Hezbollah have launched hundreds of drones in the past year alone. This relentless onslaught reveals vulnerabilities in Israel's advanced air defenses. The threat is real and growing, as these small drones can exploit gaps that traditional military strategies might overlook. In this evolving landscape, understanding the capabilities and tactics of these drones is crucial for grasping the future of defense technology. A wider war in the region poses significant risks to operational defenses. As we consider the implications of limited ground raids in Lebanon, we must acknowledge the evolving threats, particularly from first-person view drones. These drones, capable of carrying explosives, can target troops with alarming precision. Israel's military superiority is undeniable, yet the potential for protracted conflict looms large. History teaches us that such engagements can lead to the establishment of long-term security zones, reminiscent of the 1982 to 2000 occupation of southern Lebanon. The challenge lies in balancing immediate tactical advantages with the broader strategic landscape, where the cost of escalation could outweigh the benefits. Military analysts must tread carefully, as the stakes are higher than ever. Military experts in Israel are sounding the alarm. They warn that the current efforts to dismantle Hezbollah's extensive network of bunkers, tunnels, and hidden firing positions along the 75-mile frontier are far from sufficient. Airstrikes alone won't cut it. A ground operation is essential to truly uproot these threats. Meanwhile, Israel has reportedly executed a bold strategy to disrupt Hezbollah's communications, causing thousands of their pagers and walkie-talkies to explode last month. This audacious move highlights the escalating tension and the urgent need for decisive action. The stakes are high, and the clock is ticking. The question remains, will Israel intensify its efforts before it's too late? The recent escalation in southern Lebanon has taken a dramatic turn, with the death of Hassan Nasrallah, the longtime leader of Hezbollah. This development raises critical questions about the future of the region. With an unspecified number of troops now on the ground, the situation remains tense and unpredictable. We are just days away from the one-year anniversary of the Hamas attack in Israel, an event that has reshaped the dynamics of power in the Middle East. The repercussions of this conflict have rippled across borders, affecting alliances and strategies. As we witness these shifts, it becomes increasingly clear that the path forward is fraught with uncertainty, leaving many to wonder how and when this cycle of violence will come to an end. The situation in Gaza is escalating rapidly. Israeli forces have intensified their operations, targeting Hamas leadership, and the death toll has surged past 41,000, according to reports from the Hamas-run health ministry. With Ismail Haniyeh already eliminated in Tehran, the focus now shifts to Yahya Sinwar, the key figure still at large. This ongoing conflict is sending shockwaves through the oil market. Traders must remain vigilant. Any disruption in supply chains could have immediate repercussions. The volatility is palpable, and the stakes are high. Keep your eyes on the developments. This is not just a regional conflict. It's a potential game-changer for oil prices globally. Crude oil continues to flow to key buyers, yet the geopolitical landscape remains complex. Iran, a significant player, has shown little inclination to engage directly in the ongoing regional tensions. Helena Croft from RBC Capital Markets raises an important point. The future of this conflict is uncertain. Are we witnessing the beginning of the end, or merely the end of the beginning? Meanwhile, crude prices have been under pressure, driven by tepid demand forecasts and increasing output from both OPEC and non-member nations. Global production levels are robust, which complicates the market dynamics further. Investors should remain vigilant, as the interplay between geopolitical developments and supply-demand fundamentals will be crucial in shaping the oil market's trajectory. The Middle East, a critical player in the global oil market, supplies roughly a third of the world's oil. Yet, despite ongoing tensions in the region, oil prices remain surprisingly stable. Brent crude is hovering around $72 a barrel, only a slight uptick of 20 cents since Monday, while West Texas Intermediate is just above $68. This resilience suggests that investors are currently unfazed by geopolitical risks, perhaps due to a robust supply chain or a shift in market sentiment. As we analyze these trends, it's crucial to consider how this stability could impact future investment strategies. Are we witnessing a moment of calm before a potential storm, or is this the new normal for oil prices? Keeping a close eye on these developments will be essential for making informed decisions in the coming weeks. Oil markets appear to be largely unfazed by the recent geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. Investors seem to be taking a wait-and-see approach, focusing on the absence of immediate threats to production, particularly from Iran, or disruptions in crude transport. The ongoing dialogues among U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Antony Blinken's discussions with UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy, underscore a concerted effort to de-escalate the situation. However, until we see a tangible risk materialize, the market is likely to maintain its current trajectory. For traders, this means keeping a close eye on developments, as any shift in sentiment could lead to volatility. The key takeaway? Stay informed and ready to pivot as the landscape evolves. The situation in Israel and Lebanon is escalating rapidly, and it feels like the discussions happening in political circles are worlds apart from the reality on the ground. Prime Minister Netanyahu is poised to exploit the chaos within Hezbollah, which has been reeling from weeks of attacks. This is a critical moment. The U.S. Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, has just spoken with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, emphasizing the urgency of the Israeli operations. The stakes are incredibly high, and every move counts. As tensions rise, we must pay close attention to how these developments could reshape the region. The implications are profound, not just for Israel and Lebanon, but for the entire Middle East. The world is watching, and the next steps could determine the course of this conflict. Both sides have recognized the urgent need to dismantle the attack infrastructure along the border, a crucial step to prevent any future incidents like the October 7 attacks on Israel's northern communities. This agreement highlights a shared understanding of the risks involved. Yet, amidst these discussions, Israel has escalated its military actions, striking the largest Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon near Sidon. This raises serious questions about the balance between military operations and the pursuit of a diplomatic pathway. As we navigate these complex dynamics, the focus must shift towards fostering security and stability in the region, ensuring that dialogue prevails over conflict. The stakes are high, and the path forward requires careful consideration and commitment from all parties involved. Fighter jets and drones have struck multiple locations in Damascus, resulting in the tragic loss of 3 civilian lives and injuries to 9 others, as reported by the state-run Sanaa news agency. This escalation highlights the ongoing tensions in the region. Interestingly, despite the recent death of Hezbollah leader Nasrallah, Iran appears to be taking a measured approach. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's initial response suggests that any retaliation will be orchestrated by Hezbollah and Lebanon, rather than a direct Iranian response. This strategic stance indicates a complex interplay of power dynamics in the Middle East, where responses are calculated and often involve multiple actors. The situation remains fluid, and the implications of these developments could reshape the regional landscape significantly. Iran's foreign ministry has made it clear they won't be sending forces to Lebanon to engage in conflict with Israel. This decision comes amidst a backdrop of shifting power dynamics, as the US believes Iran is being restrained, largely due to the weakening of its key proxy forces. Just last April, when Iran launched a direct attack on Israel, the results were telling. Most of their missiles and drones were intercepted. In response to these tensions, the US has announced the deployment of a few thousand additional troops to the Middle East, aiming to bolster Israel's defenses and deter any further aggression from Iran. It's a complex situation, and as global citizens, we must stay informed and vigilant about these developments that could impact regional and global security. In light of recent developments, it's important to understand the strategic decisions being made to ensure our safety and security. The extra forces being deployed will primarily consist of fighter jet squadrons and units already stationed in the region, which were originally set to rotate out. This means we're not stretching our resources too thin, rather, we're reinforcing our presence where it matters most. Just days ago, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin made the decision to keep the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier in the area, rather than sending it to the Western Pacific. This is a clear signal of our commitment to stability in the region. Additionally, there's a flotilla of Navy ships positioned in the eastern Mediterranean, ready to assist in the event of a mass evacuation of Americans from Lebanon. These actions reflect a proactive approach to international relations, ensuring that we are prepared for any situation while prioritizing the safety of our citizens. Rest assured, our military is vigilant and ready to respond as needed. Tensions are escalating as Israel confirms it has deployed ground troops into Lebanon, a significant shift in the ongoing conflict. This comes on the heels of Israel's airstrikes targeting the heart of Beirut for the first time in nearly a year, a stark reminder of the volatility in the region. Hezbollah remains eerily silent, yet their deputy, Naim Qassem, has made it clear their forces are ready to engage in ground combat. The stakes are higher than ever, and the world watches closely as both sides prepare for what could be a dramatic escalation in hostilities. The silence from Hezbollah is deafening, leaving many to wonder what their next move will be in this already fraught situation. The situation is escalating rapidly. With the assassination of Nasrallah, the stakes have never been higher. The statement, "We are ready if the Israelis decide to enter by land," underscores a palpable tension in the region. This isn't just rhetoric, it's a clear signal of preparedness for a ground conflict. Meanwhile, President Biden's call for an immediate ceasefire seems to fall on deaf ears, especially with Netanyahu's administration showing little inclination to halt operations. The geopolitical chessboard is shifting, and the implications are profound. Analysts must consider the potential fallout, both regionally and globally. Will this lead to a broader conflict, or can diplomatic efforts still prevail? The urgency of the moment demands our attention and analysis. The situation in Lebanon is increasingly precarious. Targeted raids by Israel raise fears of longer-term military deployments, potentially dragging the region into a deeper conflict. As Hezbollah regroups, the risk of overstretching Israel's military capabilities grows. This is not just a concern for those directly involved, it reverberates across the globe. The US, European nations, and Arab countries are all calling for a ceasefire, emphasizing the tragic death toll in Lebanon and the urgent need to prevent a wider escalation. The stakes are high, and the potential for a spiraling conflict in the Middle East could have far-reaching consequences for us all. It's a complex web of geopolitical tensions that demands our attention and understanding. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas has dragged on for nearly a year, highlighting the stark reality of our geopolitical landscape. Despite countless efforts, a ceasefire remains elusive, raising serious questions about the prospects for peace in Lebanon. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant's recent remarks underscore this urgency. He emphasized that the killing of Hezbollah leader Nasrallah is not the endgame, rather, it's just one piece in a larger puzzle. The message is clear: Israel is prepared to leverage all its capabilities to confront Hezbollah. This situation is precarious, and the stakes are incredibly high. As tensions rise, we must pay close attention to how these developments unfold, as they could reshape the entire region. Syria's air defense system has reportedly intercepted 3 attacks near Damascus, with explosions echoing through the capital. These incidents are often attributed to hostile targets, a term that typically points to Israel. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Netanyahu is focused on a significant war objective, ensuring the safety of northern Israeli communities by crippling Hezbollah's capacity to launch rockets. This ongoing conflict raises serious concerns about regional stability and the potential for escalation. As tensions mount, the implications for both nations and the broader Middle East could be profound. The situation remains precarious, and the stakes are higher than ever. Hezbollah's rocket fire into Israel since last October is a stark reminder of the escalating tensions in the region. They claim solidarity with Hamas, which launched a brutal attack on Israeli civilians on October 7, igniting a fierce conflict in Gaza. This isn't just a skirmish, it's a complex web of alliances and animosities, with Iran pulling the strings behind both groups. The situation has intensified, with Israel poised to send troops across the border, a move that could spiral into a larger confrontation. As the world watches, the stakes are higher than ever, and the implications of this conflict stretch far beyond the immediate violence. It's a critical moment that demands our attention and understanding. The air is thick with tension as a series of airstrikes have decimated Hezbollah's command structure, marking a turning point in this relentless conflict. With the death of their leader, Hassan Nasrallah, the organization is reeling, its grip on power weakened. Meanwhile, Israel intensifies its bombing campaign across southern Lebanon, a region now engulfed in chaos. For months, Israeli forces have conducted covert commando operations, probing the borders, gathering intelligence, and striking with precision. Now, the Israel Defense Forces have confirmed the launch of targeted ground raids, escalating the violence to unprecedented levels. The stakes are higher than ever, and the world watches as this volatile situation unfolds, each moment fraught with uncertainty and potential for further escalation. Israel has officially launched targeted ground raids in southern Lebanon, marking a significant escalation in its ongoing campaign against Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militant group. According to a statement from the Israeli forces, these operations are focused on striking targets in villages near the border that are deemed to pose an immediate threat to Israeli communities in the north. This move comes amid rising tensions in the region, as Israel seeks to dismantle Hezbollah's capabilities and ensure the safety of its citizens. Analysts are closely monitoring the situation, as the implications of these raids could reshape the dynamics of security in the area. The conflict's evolution is critical, not just for Israel and Lebanon, but for the broader Middle Eastern landscape. Stay tuned for in-depth analysis as this situation develops.
Thanks for tuning in to Global News 04, your source for all the latest news across every area. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay tuned, and make sure to turn on all notifications to stay up to date with the latest global news. Check out our other videos for more in-depth coverage, and follow us on social media to never miss a beat. If you'd like to support our work, scan the QR code to make a contribution. See you next time.